Welcome to another round of Soccer Down Here. It's a combination show. Bases dropped on your Monday. Couple of different programming notes here before we go forward. Today's show is going to be more of a salty takeaways version, and thanks to everyone who has dropped their thoughts into the timeline. A bit of a programming note. This week and next, early on in the week, timing to release program is going to be a little wonky. I am on the road for high school football, so this is when the beginning of those worlds collide. And the posting of shows is going to be a little dependent upon Wi-Fi and availability and things like that. So programming will come out. Just keep an eye on your timelines and set your notifications. Might be a little different than the normal times when stuff comes out. Early this week, early next week, because I'm on the road catching up with high school football coaches. And once again, thanks to everybody who has been hanging with us during all of this time, as Jason is still on the mend from fighting COVID, and all of you who have been part and parcel of the SDH family and letting us know what you think about everything going on. That's what we're all about here. Just let us know what you think about any kind of topics and any kind of programming that we're here. We'll get back to you and respond in kind as you volunteer your thoughts, and we bring ours as well. So keep it coming. And just know, like I said, early this week, early next week. Timing might be a little wonky, but thanks for hanging out with us and being a part of Soccer Down Here, as you always are. Now, opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. And also you can follow at Kickoff Coffee CO on Twitter, on Facebook, and on Instagram. Reminder that with Kickoff Coffee, 15% off, and you can do that by using the code SoccerDownHere15. SoccerDownHere15 gets you 15% off of your purchase. And thanks to everyone who has been investing in Kickoff Coffee ever since they have come online here and been a partner with us here at SDH. Reminder that 10% of the proceeds head toward youth development. And that's a very cool thing that they are doing. So Soccer Down Here 15, use the code, get you 15% off, and 10% of the proceeds head toward youth development. Very, very cool stuff they're doing at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. Opening kickoff this morning, the morning kickoff is going to be a bit of a tease because Jarrett will come up with Tu's review, and he'll have that a little later on today. But biggest thing this weekend, and Jason and Jarrett got to fill in for Jason this weekend with me as we were calling the game from the Fraction with Las Vegas Lights and with Atlanta United too. A couple of things, and Jarrett may get into it as well when the Tu's review is up online. But it was great to see Roswell Hornet, Cal Jennings, and it was great to see the folks that came out to see him. So when his name was introduced by Justin Hanover across the PA, that there were some Cal Jennings fans that were right below us in the S suite, and to hear that kind of response and applause and have them show up to be there to support Cal, I thought it was very, very cool. It's great to see how the game continues to grow, and when you have someone who's from Roswell High School and has made this career for himself, and he is where he is right now, second leading scorer for Las Vegas, is there in the playoff picture right now in the Western Conference. And very, very cool to see the fans show up there for Cal from Roswell to Kennesaw. And great to see that on the weekend as folks were getting ready to see Las Vegas and at Atlanta United too. So very, very cool stuff to see. And you never know when you can get these kind of crossovers. So here's the piece of information that's kind of our opening kickoff this morning. So as we do when we're getting ready for these matches, you're trying to find as much information as humanly possible, and you reach out to the opposition, and it's like the opposing team, and it's like you have some questions, and you're wanting to get answers. And in my case, it was just behind the scenes stuff where you're trying to find stats, you're trying to find background info that was outside of the packet that Las Vegas Lights sent, and you're trying to get all kinds of, maybe if there's a supporters group or something like that that's having a viewing party there in the opposing city, and you want to kind of tip your hat to them, or you want any kind of light and fluffy featurey information, then those are the 4 questions that I sent to Vegas Lights and the communications department. So later that afternoon, I get an email back, And the email sent me in the direction to get the updated stats, and it was individual stats, and that really helped out. And there wasn't a viewing party, and there was a piece of feature information that turned out to be the Cal Jennings piece of information, reminding us that he was from Roswell. And then the fourth question was just so I could stay up to date with what's going on in the world of Las Vegas Lights. The individual that sent the note back was the owner, Brent Lashbrook, the owner and CEO of Las Vegas Lights, sent me the note back explaining where I could find things and all that kind of stuff. And so it was just the rare instance where, and I emailed him back and I said, okay, well, this is one of the first times I think that I've ever had an actual owner/CEO email me back for one of these things. And so you never know where you're going to get your information. You never know where it's going to come from. So it was very, very cool to get that, to get that piece of information from an unlikely place. And so I thought it was very, very cool to see all that kind of info. And it came from the owner and CEO himself. So you never know when you reach out to try to find information what it's going to come back to you in return. So it was really interesting stuff to get that from Las Vegas Lights. So it comes in any part of work. If you reach out, you never know who's going to reach back, and you never know when that contact can expand for you. So that's your morning kickoff. So if you're always curious, always send something out because you never know what you're going to get back in return. Opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. You can follow Kickoff Coffee CO once again on Twitter, on Facebook, and on Instagram. Use the code SoccerDownHere15. A lot of you have been investing in Kickoff Coffee so far, and thank you for doing so. SoccerDownHere15 gets you 15% off. 10% of the proceeds from the sales of Kickoff Coffee are circled back toward youth development. Very, very cool stuff that they do. So SoccerDownHere15 is your code. 10% toward youth development is part of the work that they are doing there at Kickoff Coffee. KickoffCoffeeCO.com. All right, let's get into it. Let's get the numbers and the goalless draw with Chicago and Atlanta United. And I do have those of you who have reached out, and I'll give my initial responses. And as we always say here, if there's anything on your mind, reach out. If I miss it, then hit me up on Twitter immediately, like right then and there, at OSG Nelson on Twitter. If I miss it, and I've been prone to do that, circle back, hit me up. We'll talk about it, and we'll go back and forth. It's always cool to have opinions and civil discourse here at SDH. So if I miss it, send it back to me, and we'll get it in, and we will discuss. So goalless draw by the end of the day. And looking at juice boxes, it was Chicago at a -105. Atlanta United was a +250. Your draw was a +275. Your starting lineup, and looking at it, the numbers courtesy of our friends at SofaScore, you had Rocco in net. And your back line was Juanjo Purata, Alan Franco, George Campbell, Caleb Wiley, midfield of Mateus Usechu, Santi Sosa, and you had Thiago Almada as a part of that, and then you had Luis Joseph and Ronaldo Cisneros up top. Your SofaScore numbers, lowest ones on the day, Mateus Usechu, before he was substituted, had a 6.5, George Campbell a 6.7, Luis Araujo a 6.9. Everybody else had 7s on the day, and it was Ronaldo, Joseph, Santi, Alan Franco, Caleb Wiley each had 7 flats. Thiago Almada had a 7.1. Juanjo Purata had a 7.4, and Rocco had a 7.5. Rocco on the day in 90 minutes, 3 saves, 1 punch to clear, a high claim, 2 saves from inside the box. 39 of 41 on his passes on 49 touches, 95% accuracy in his passes. 1 clearance also on the day for Rocco Rios Novo. Juanjo Purata continues to impress at the back. In 90 minutes, 9 clearances for Juanjo Purata. 2 blocks, an interception, 2 tackles, 2 dribbles passed. 7 of 14 on the day on his duels. 3 of those won on the ground, 4 of them won in the air. 70 touches, 80% in his passing on 36 of 45. 3 for 7 on his long balls, 1 for 1 on the dribble. Thiago Almada, I know a lot of you had wanted to see Thiago Almada from Absolute Jump, and you got it, 90 minutes. 2 shots off target. One of them was close. That just missed the upper 90 toward the tail end of the first half. I know a lot of you were looking at that one, hopefully bending into the corner of the net to give Atlanta United the lead. 3 shots blocked, 4 of 5 on his dribbles, 1 big chance missed. That's the one that we talked about. 84% in his passing, 38 of 45 on 65 touches, 1 key pass, 1 successful cross, 4 for 4 on long balls. And duels, he was 5 of 7 on the day, 4 of 6 on the ground. He did have 1 interception as well. Looking at Luis Araujo's numbers, Luis had a 6.9, 45 touches, 11 of 17 on his passing at 65%. He had 1 long ball on the day, 2 shots on target, 1 off target, 2 blocks, 5 of 9 on dribbles, 7 of 14 on the ground in duels won, 8 of 15 overall, fouled twice, 1 clearance and 1 interception. Joseph, on the day in 90 minutes, he had 1 shot off target, 25 touches on the day, 15 of 18 in his passing at 83%, 5 key passes, 2 long balls were completed, 2 for 6 on his duels, 1 clearance for Joseph as well. And then Cisneros, you end up with Ronaldo playing 81 minutes on a 7.0, had 1 shot blocked, 25 touches, accuracy 75%, 15 of 20, and 3 key passes. He had 1 big chance created. He had 1 blocked shot as well. And I know that a lot of folks are looking at the numbers, getting Joseph involved, only 25 touches, Ronaldo getting 25 touches as well, 50 touches with those two, and then Luis Araujo had 45 touches on his own. So, you have to give Navarro, Sijos, Turan, and Sekulic, and Federico Navarro a lot of credit on the day in clamping down on Cisneros and Joseph Martinez. And Gabriel Slonina had a 7.5 as well on Chicago's day. 2 saves, 1 punch, 2 saves from inside the box. And it was 8 of 17 on his long balls, 33 touches on the day, 65% completions. Biggest numbers for Chicago came from Xherdan Shaqiri. He had a 7.8 on the day, 71 touches, 75% completion on his passes of 33 of 44, 6 key passes, 1 cross successful on 13 attempts, 3 of 4 on long balls, and he had 9 of 12 duels on the ground, lost all 3 in the air, so 9 of 15 overall. So looking at the other numbers for Atlanta United, great to see Andrew Gutman come in for the final 15 minutes, replacing Luis Araujo. Gutman out for basically 2 months with his injury, and so we should be seeing more minutes from him as we go forward, especially coming up with Seattle this upcoming weekend, coming to Mercedes-Benz Stadium on a full house for the Sounders as they come to town. Aiden McFadden came in at halftime, replacing George Campbell. Aiden had a 7.3 on his day. Once again, McFadden continuing to impress with his time with Atlanta United. 2 clearances, a block, an interception, 4 tackles for Aiden McFadden. Great defensive numbers there. He was 6 of 10 on his duels won, 28 touches, completed half his passes, 6 of 12, 1 cross completed, 2 long balls as well. Also, Franco Ibarra came in for 10 minutes, replacing Mateus Usechu. Marcelino Moreno came in for 10 minutes, replacing Caleb Wiley. Dom Dwyer, the birthday boy, came in for 10 minutes, replacing Ronaldo Cisneros. Looking at the other numbers on the day in the statistical department, Atlanta United had 51% possession, was outshot 15-13. Chicago had more shots on target, 3-2. Both teams blocked 7 shots. Atlanta United had 8 corners, most of them, I think, in the first half. Looking at the corner kick numbers, it was 7 of those corner kicks in the first half, only 1 in the second half. 18 fouls for Atlanta called, only 7 for Chicago. You had 1 counterattack shot, 11 shots inside the box on the day for the Chicago Fire. Passing on the day, 81% to 80%. Long balls, 34-32 for Chicago. Atlanta United had 3 crosses to 2. More successful on the dribble, far more successful, 13-6. And then 1 in the aerial department, even on tackles, had more interceptions and more clearances on the day. So that's really where it was. I know that there were chances early that folks wanted to have converted, and Gabriel Slonina came up big at times. And so let's get into your thoughts here for the match against Atlanta and Chicago, and we can kind of figure out what was on your mind after 90 minutes. Going back into the discussions, Tom Russo, running out of excuses for this high-priced offense. While a point on the road is always good, 3 goals in the last 5 matches doesn't cut it. We're past the injuries to the offensive players. They've been playing together for a while now. Get it together now. Tom, I know that's a thought that a lot of you have, but you still have not had your DPs together until this month, and so that's only a handful of games. All of your DPs did not have the chance to play together until this month. And, obviously, yes, you take a point on the road. I thought that Atlanta United had more of the dominance in play. But once again, for the second match in a row, you're doing everything possible except put the ball in the back of the net. And it's just getting to that time where you've got to continue to steal points on the road and you've got to win out at home. And I know that there's a big level of frustration there with 3 goals in the last 5 matches, as you say. So, the bottom line is you've got to score. And I know that Gonzalo Pineda is looking for those right combinations or what have you, and you want to have all that firepower out there. But once again, look at it from the other side, defensively. What you are going to try to do is you're going to frustrate Atlanta United with all of that firepower. And I know that we've seen times in the past where Thiago Almada combines with Ronaldo Cisneros, and you can get in behind center backs who aren't as fast as you. But if you have a team that is as sound defensively as what Ezra Hendrickson has been building there in Chicago this year, and you've got a guy like Gaga Slonina who's going to be stopping shots, they're going to make it as difficult as possible. 50 touches for Joseph and for Ronaldo Cisneros, and 45 touches for Luis Araujo. That meant that Chicago, going in, was going to cut off the supply lines to Ronaldo and Joseph and make it as difficult as possible for the ball to get to them, because Chicago knows what Atlanta United can do. And it's up to the players in those cases, and it's up to Atlanta United to try to find ways to get around low block, get around frustrating defenses, get around all of the professional fouls, and trying to frustrate Atlanta United as much as you can. So it is, at the end of the day, looking at it from an Atlanta United perspective, up to those offensive players to try to find ways around a defense that is going to anchor, be in a low block, frustrate you, try to cut off your supply lines. And so, when they're not really, they're not all that, what's the word I'm looking for, Tom? When you're not allowing this high-powered offense to do anything, and you're basically just going to kind of sit there, and it's like, okay, we'll have the ball 50% of the time. What they did, and this is something that stuck out to me in the first 45 minutes specifically, is when Chicago would surrender possession, basically the way it looked to me, and I'll probably end up going back and watching the game all over again, is that Atlanta United had a lot of space in the middle third. A lot of space. But the closer that you got to the attacking third, the 18, that was when you saw all of those bodies there, all those white jerseys for Chicago just kind of camped out and not giving Atlanta United a lot of space to run. It reminds me of, and this is a college football analogy, it reminds me a lot of when you're a defense and you're going up a team that runs spread, and you don't want them to beat you deep. So what do? You let them have all of the stuff in front of them. You let them have the dinks and dunks and the 7-yard passes and everything working up, in the middle of the field and all this kind of stuff. But then when the field gets shorter, that offense it's made difficult to function because of all of the bodies that are there. Basically, let's just say from the 20-yard line, to carry the college football analogy, when you've got all of this space that you're used to creating in, and then you don't because it's the 18 and in, then it's more frustrating for that particular offense just because you have all those bodies that are hanging out there, making it difficult for you to function. And yes, I know we get to that point about it, but it's up to Atlanta United to try to work around that. But it's a very short amount of space that they're having to deal with here. You get that first two-thirds, you can do whatever you want. But when you get into the attacking third, Chicago just kind of sits there, clamps down, and probably talked to the MTA and got a little help there and waited for Atlanta United to either make mistakes, to create short fields, to create opportunities, or when Atlanta United had a shot blocked and then you could work out the other way, then you could work in transition. So it just reminded me, the more that I think about it, Tom, those instances where in college football it's like a spread offense going up against the defense. Defense will give up all those yards all day long. But then when you get close to the end zone, that's when things clamp down, and it's about making sure that you can get into that space and get something done. So I know you're not alone, Tom, when it comes to being frustrated, obviously, with the offense. Colonel came in. He said his side's got road draws, not pleased with either Swansea or Atlanta United. Discuss as you wish. Colonel, just to let everybody know with where you and I are when it comes to life in the championship, let's see, results. Let's go back and see what the result was over time. Rotherham, wow, one of the teams that was newly promoted. Yeah, I could see why. Draw was a plus 235. That should have been one, even though it was at Rotherham. Swansea should have gotten points. So, no, right there with you. That's not the way that you want to start the season, even though you're on the road at Rotherham. And I know that you're frustrated with Atlanta United as well in a game where if they'd had a chance go one way or the other, and there were chances, they just didn't go in the back of the net. Atlanta United would have come out with 3 points instead of 1. Emilio, didn't feel like a complete game again. We were pretty invisible in the second half this time. Yeah, well, you mentioned that with a one corner. That was a part of it as well. I would have been happy with this result if this was, say, June. Points dropped, which we can't afford. Numb at this point in a fetal position. You don't need to be numb in a fetal position, Emilio. You look at let's break down the second half numbers since we talked about the first half numbers specifically. Let's go second half numbers for Atlanta United. 40% of the possession. But once again, remember, when you look at, how things are in the second half after, say, probably 60th minute or so, Chicago had a lot of stuff going their way in that final 30 minutes. So second half numbers, 40% of the possession for Atlanta United, 11 shots for Chicago instead of 5 for Atlanta United, 6 corners to 1. So what we saw in the first half for Atlanta United, we saw in the second half from Chicago. You had the one big chance missed. 9 shots inside the box for Chicago in the second half, only 3 for Atlanta United. You had 71 more completions, 83% passing. Atlanta United still had more crosses, more long balls, 24-13 for Chicago in the second half, more dribbles, but Atlanta United had far more tackles, far more interceptions, and 17 clearances to 4 in the second half. So that's just breaking down your numbers to the second half. But, yeah, looking at game flow and things like that, pretty much after the 60th or 65th minute, a lot of the action was Chicago keeping Atlanta United at bay offensively. So right now, and we'll go ahead and get into it because it's something that I like to put out there every single week that we do have salty takeaways. Let's take a look at the standings, and I will continue to be pragmatic about it, and here's why. You look at where things stand, and 5 points separate 5th from Atlanta United right now. I know that everybody's got 22 matches played where Atlanta United's concerned. Chicago, Cincinnati, and Orlando each have played one more. Crew have played one less, and it's because of the game in Charlotte that they've got to figure out. So keep an eye on that one as well. Sidebar, I'm wondering if they keep those statistics for fantasy, because I was in a tight match in fantasy, and I know that some of you were too, with Charlotte and Columbus. But right now, here's how things stand in the Eastern Conference. No need to be in a fetal position, Amelia. Here's why. Orlando City, 30 points. Crew, 30 points. Cincinnati, 23 matches played. They played one more than Atlanta. They're at 29 points. They've drawn 4 of their last 5. I think they've drawn 5 of their last 6, actually. They're at 29 points. So Atlanta is 4 points out of a playoff spot with a match in hand. Chicago's at 27. They've won 3, and they've gotten 10 points in their last 4 matches, so they've rocketed up the table. Revs are at 27. They are not the same Revs team that we knew last year. They've drawn 3 of 5, and they've lost the other 2. Charlotte, 26 points. Inter Miami, 26 points, 1 less win. Atlanta, 25 points, and they're at 6, 7, and 9. So I'm looking at this, and yes, I know that the match with Seattle is going to be really interesting coming up this weekend. But Seattle has lost 4 of 5, and it will be an interesting conversation that we have on Thursday with Nico Moreno from Pulso Sports out in Seattle about what he thinks about this matchup from a Seattle perspective. But yes, the window is closing. You've only got 12 matches left here in the season. But you only have 5 points to get to 5th in the Eastern Conference. And this is a point that I will continue to say. We knew from the absolute beginning of this season that the Eastern Conference, you could take more teams. You could tell who was not going to be a part of the playoff picture more than you could sit there and say who was going to be in the playoff picture, if that makes any sense. You could eliminate the teams and be sure of that, number. But the number of teams competing for playoff spots in both the East and the West, and go back to our Thursday conversation that I had with Nico about it. In the East right now, I know who I think the playoff teams will be, and I know who I think is going to slide out. I'm looking at Cincinnati. I'm looking at Orlando. I'm looking at both of them right now as the teams I think that will drop out of the playoff picture. Columbus, that makeup match with Charlotte could be big in a week of compression because in 2 weeks, all these teams in Major League Soccer will play 3 matches in 8 days. And that's going to be a big turn for some teams that want to try to hopscotch up the table. Right now, 5 points separate with everything that has gone on with Atlanta United this year to this point. Up to this point, 5 points separate 5 from Atlanta United right now. 5 through 12. 8 teams, 5 points. And I know that's a lot of hopscotching that's got to be done between now and then. But 4 points between Atlanta United and a playoff spot. And I don't think that 2 of those 3 teams right now that are part of this mix will be a part of the discussion in the postseason. I don't think Orlando City will. I don't think Cincinnati will. I think Cincinnati has regressed to their mean. And getting draws is not going to do it for you when you have teams that are winning matches behind you. So no need for a fetal position, Emilio, and that's my main reason why. With everything that we've seen with Atlanta United, whether it's injuries, draws, road draws, what have you, 5 points separating 5 from 12. That's the way I'm looking at things until further notice. And every single time that we do Salty Takeaways, every single Monday when Atlanta United is discussed with Jarrett and myself about what happened the previous weekend, I will always reference the standings until it becomes untenable. Right now, it is not untenable and should not be looked at as an untenable situation. Frustrating, sure. Absolutely. Absolute right to be frustrated with what's been going on with Atlanta United not getting results or not getting enough points in matches as you would like. But untenable, no, considering the math we just laid out here for how things are in the Eastern Conference. So no need for a fetal position. Also on the board, you have all of the fantasy notifications. So a lot of stuff, and that was how I was looking at the fantasy stuff. So that was an intriguing one for me. So we'll keep an eye on what happened there. Rockin' Robin, the Soccer for Good OG, last one here on this go round of Salty Takeaways. But remember, go ahead and send in your thoughts all week long. We'll talk about them all week long because that's all we got. We got tape, we got time. So it's all about having civil discourse and talking things through on a weekly basis when it comes to Atlanta United. Jill says, so we didn't lose. The matches were entertaining, both for the twos and for Atlanta United. seeing some really good stuff from youngsters like Wiley and McFadden. I didn't get into Caleb Wiley's numbers, so let me get into Caleb's numbers here real quick since he had that 7.0. 80 minutes, 55 touches, 31 of 40, 78%. One key pass, two for 4 on his long balls. On the duels, he was 4 for 8. And he also had 1 block and 3 tackles on the day. So we're continuing to see Caleb Wiley grow as well. Seen it from George Campbell, seen it from Caleb Wiley. All of these young players, Aiden McFadden, we talked about Aiden earlier here in the show, where all of these young players who are being thrown into these situations, yes, they make mistakes. It's all about growing and gaining experience. But you're still seeing that they're adapting to these situations, and the faith that Gonzalo Pineda has in them at the back is key and has been key so far this season in their continued growth as professionals. So close on so many chances. Yes, we did mention that. Feels like we're close. It also feels like we'll run out of season before we hit our stride. Maybe 23 is our year. Well, with everybody back healthy, I would say, yeah. You bring everybody back healthy, and then obviously off season you'll have decisions to make on who stays and if other suitors come for players, and that's going to be a part of it too. But once again, Jill, you're still looking at 12 matches, and I go back to the point that I made with Emilio in the standings. 5 points separating 5 from 12. The 5th seed is only 5 points away from you. And, you saw that with Orlando. And you're looking at Orlando losing to D.C. United. They've lost 2 in a row. They lost to Philadelphia. They lost to D.C. No one is making any kind of substantial move up the table short of Chicago right now. And that's because Chicago's won 3 of 4. Everything that you're seeing in the East has moved itself forward. And there really hasn't been a whole lot of change. And that benefits Atlanta United as they're chasing right now. So right now, 23, yes. You bring back Brad Gazan, who we saw working out in zero gravity. I guess it was zero gravity or shrink wrapped or whatever treadmill. Bring back Miles. I imagine you keep Juanjo Purata. Brooks Lennon comes back healthy. Andrew Gutman comes back healthy. Ozzie Alonso, we'll find out what's up with Ozzie. You would assume that Ozzie would want to try to come back as well. And that's a lot at the back. That is a lot at the back that you're looking forward to having return fully in 2023. You've got decisions to make in the midfield because there's a lot of folks there that can do a lot of different things. And so who stays, who goes, any suitors interested there, and then you've got the firepower up top. So there's a lot to think about for 2023, but with 12 matches to go, I still want to look at what's going on here with Atlanta United in 2022. That's what the calendar says down to the low right part of the screen. So right now, yes, there's stuff to look at. There's a lot of decisions to be made. But that's in the off season. We're not to the off season yet. We're not to November. We're not to Thanksgiving. We're not to folks trying to figure out what they need to do. So right now, still 12 matches to go, 5 points separating you from being the 5th seed in the East. And so that's where things stand right now. So that is another round of salty takeaways. I know that it was 2 points less than a lot of folks wanted. And 2 points less than Atlanta United fans and what they wanted going to Chicago. And so you just build towards Seattle. And Seattle is stumbling right now, and it's an opportunity to get full points in front of a full house at Mercedes-Benz this weekend. We'll talk about it all week long, talk about what's on your mind all week long. Tomorrow on the show, we'll talk about, on the network, we'll talk about what happened in the rest of the matches with Major League Soccer. A lot of craziness. And you had 8 goals in 2 specific matches that had craziness. And once again, they were 4-4 draws. So shared results only gave you 1 point and not 3. So a lot of stuff happened in Major League Soccer. So we'll talk about it tomorrow on SDH. Once again, thanks for hanging out with us, and thanks for being patient as we post things in taped formats. And once again, Twitter is wide open. Wide open. You can reach out to me at OSG Nelson. You can let me know what's on your mind. We'll talk about it on a weekly basis, and we will go back and forth because that's what we're here for. And as we always say, if we disagree, that's cool. Absolutely cool if we disagree, but that's the beauty of this, is that we can have these kinds of back and forths, and we can talk things through while we got 12 matches to go here in the regular season. So for everybody here at SGH, that's another round of salty takeaways and bitter ends. Remember, Two's Review coming up later today. Tomorrow, back at it again with SDH. You've also got the USL League One, USL Championship programming. Later this week, we'll catch up with the two teams that are chasing after a title in the NPSL. Very, very busy week as we balance a lot of stuff. So thanks again to all of you who are a part of things here at SDH. It's another round of Salty Takeaways, everybody. Play it safe. We'll catch up with you later.